Hello, my love. Welcome to another episode of Blisstopia podcast. I am your host, Mercedes Castellani, and I am so excited to record this episode. As you know, we're launching a new format in the show where we invite guests who are already living in Blisstopia. So I am so excited for this conversation. Our guest today is Kayla Langholf. Kayla helps women reach their highest potential, purpose, and success by reprogramming the subconscious mind. She hosts the Energetically Her podcast and is a dog mom of 3 gorgeous dogs. So, welcome, Kayla, to the show. Thank you so much for your time today. We're going to have a beautiful, beautiful conversation. I think your life experience, the experience that you have now as a coach supporting women, it's going to be very interesting and inspirational for our listeners in the Blisstopia podcast. So, I'm a big fan of deep conversations. I live for deep conversation. I'm a Libra, but it's sort of like the last day before Scorpio. So I think that might be sort of my Scorpio side, that it wants to go deep into things. So I would like to start diving deep with you right from the start. So I would like to know if you want to share a little bit more with our listeners, your story, the story of your life, and what led you to do the work that you're doing today.
Scorpio, that's all about deep transformation. So it makes perfect sense. I'm not one for small talk either, so we can just hop right into it. So my upbringing was a little bit unconventional. I was raised by my grandma by the age of 5 and put into therapy, and I was born to parents that were really, really young and didn't really know how to be parents. They were still kids almost. And so as I went through school, I just found that I never really fit in, and I always felt like an outsider. I never felt comfortable around even family, or I found it really hard to make friends, and just kind of feeling like no one really understood me. And as I was getting a little bit older through school and stuff, I was bullied a lot, I was picked on, and it kind of just isolated myself even more into feeling like something was wrong with me, when really I was just kind of stuck in patterns and behaviors that I was conditioned to, like from childhood. So between 0 to 7, our brain is so malleable. Our brains are like plastic. So as they take in information, as you take in experiences, they change. Their neural pathways change. And I like to think of it like little roads in your brain of like thought processes or things that you think is okay or not okay. It could be even down to like something that your mom says about money. If you're 5 years old and you hear that over and over, it's going to stick with you and you're going to think it's your own belief, even if it's hers. And so through school and through high school, I just had these little roads in my brain and these neural pathways of like, oh, I never fit in. Oh, I never feel like everything can be happy. Like I just struggled a lot with my mental health too. And my grandma really tried. She had me in therapy. We tried different medications for anxiety, depression, and nothing really seemed to be working. I thought it was me for a long time. I was like, oh, maybe they just can't fix me. And that's so horrible for anyone to think that, you're broken, because you're not. You're disconnected to who you actually are. And we get that way through experiences, especially as children. So as I got a little bit older, I started to have memories of flashbacks of things that had happened in my past. And it was so interesting because I thought that only people could forget, like say maybe they got a concussion or like they get in a car wreck or like they have that amnesia. But no, if your brain actually experiences something where it thinks that you can't handle it, it'll just totally block it out. It's still there influencing you, but you're not actually going to be conscious of it. And through therapy and through trying all these different modalities, I finally got into meditation. It was the Headspace app that I found at first. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to commit to do this every single day. Just 5 minutes. I can start with 5 minutes. I can go from there. And it radically transformed my life because I had never allowed myself to slow down. I was that girl who was like hyper independent, didn't want to rely on anyone, like pushed myself through school. I finished high school a whole year early just to get out of there. Threw myself into college, didn't find that was working. I went into real estate, went, 0 to 100 in that really quickly. And when we don't give ourselves time to slow down and to allow ourselves to feel things, we kind of keep it bottled up. And as you go through different stages of life like that, you find that at one point your body just can't handle it anymore. It's packing around so much that's not even yours to carry. And it feels really heavy. And someone may look like it's not heavy because they're able to carry it on their shoulders, but it is heavy. And it does get to a point where you can't do it anymore. And so through meditation and through different just ways of coming back to like my soul and my inner voice, I had this moment of hitting rock bottom. And I remember this very clearly because my body was shutting down. Like I was losing mobility in my neck and my body. I was having all these physical symptoms arise, and they thought like, oh, you have Lyme disease. Oh, we don't know what's wrong with you. This one surgeon, I will never forget this. He said, Kayla, I can do surgery on your neck, but I don't know if it's going to actually fix the problem. And that was scary for me, thinking that like, okay, maybe like Western medicine is not the way. And that was a really big wake up call for me. And that was something that I didn't realize, like how much our childhood programs us, right? I had never really known anything outside of going to the doctor because that's all my grandma was used to, She didn't know anything different. And once I realized, like, okay, if they can't find what's wrong with me, is it internal? Like, am I creating this? Like, am I doing something that's allowing this to transpire? Or what part did I play in this? And it was that moment, Mercedes, where you're like, dang, I totally have been wrong about this the whole time. Going to all these different doctors and hormone specialists and all these different people trying to figure out what's wrong with me. And really, it all came from inside. It all came from the emotions, the trauma, the experiences that no child or human should ever have to go through. But because I didn't allow myself to heal, it got to a point where my body was like, okay, Kayla, mic drop. You better figure it out because you haven't been listening this whole time and we're getting tired of it.
Yeah, the body is such a reflection of what's happening on the inside. And as you say, I think Western medicine gets too focused on the matter, where in reality it's the energy. Well, now physicians are saying that there is no matter, that it's only energy, that it's actually becoming matter according to how we look at it. But any disease and anything that we see in our bodies is actually coming from our emotions, from the energy that we have. So that was quite a rough start, and you've made such huge progress, and now you've completely transformed your energy, your body, your life. How did you manage to rewire your subconscious mind? You talked about meditation. I'm a huge believer of meditation, and I share meditations on this podcast as well. But which other modalities, what else did you do to reprogram your subconscious mind and to heal from these things?
Yeah, I love this question so much because there's so many different modalities out there, right? And there might be certain things for certain people that work best. And for me, I was someone who I tried a lot. I tried EMDR through like my therapist. I tried different types of meditations. I actually love the Superhuman app now. I started with Headspace, but the Superhuman app, they're more like, I would call them as activations. So because your brain doesn't know the difference between what's imagined and what's real, when you get used to environments that are the same, your brain's expecting that because that's the evidence that it has, and it's going to pull from the past. The subconscious can't look into the future because it only has these files in front of it of like, well, this happened yesterday, or you felt like this yesterday. So it's going to keep that on repeat, almost like a record player, just going around and around and around. But what happens when you visualize and when you activate different emotions in your body remembers like, oh yeah, we can feel extra happy. We can feel almost euphoric. We can feel joy. We can be so happy that tears, stream down our face. Like I actually never thought that people could cry and have it be happy because I'd never experienced that before. Any tears that I saw were sad tears. And as I was visualizing and as I was using that Superhuman app every day, and I've been a really big fan of journaling since I was little, I tried to find ways of allowing myself to be okay with being wrong, because I had not let myself be wrong for so long, thinking like, oh, some things just, I have a disease, or I have this, or I have that. But that's just a label for like a group of physical symptoms. That really doesn't mean anything. And as you adopt that label as part of your identity, you are just super gluing it to your arm. Like, you're never going to let it go, because you're assuming like, well, that's the reason why this is happening, when really it's not. You can think whatever you want with it, but if you really want to heal, just know that your body's trying to get your attention. And like, these symptoms aren't there to punish you. It's there to get your attention of like, we need this, or we need this type of healing, or this needs to be released, is all of it is. And through meditation, I've also tried microneurofeedback, and this rewires the neural pathways in your brain. And what's really cool is, the first time I tried this, I was at a place in my life where it was a little bit before I'd hit rock bottom, believe it or not. And I was having really dark thoughts. I was struggling really bad mentally. I was working a bunch. I had started a side business for like dog apparel, and I was also doing real estate, and I had the dogs, and I had a house, and I was like way over my head, and I was having all these physical symptoms and being sick all the time and being bedridden. And the first time we did a treatment, Mercedes, I felt like I did drugs. And I don't do drugs, but I literally, it was 5 minutes, and of like them putting these electrodes all over your head and your neck. It just looks kind of crazy, but you can't feel anything. And when I got up after the 5 minutes, everything was brighter. All the colors were brighter. Then the static noise in my brain was gone, and I was like, wait, this is how it feels to like, is this silent? Like, is everyone actually, is this normal? Like, what was I feeling before? It was the weirdest experience. And as I did that more, I did like over 40 treatments to make it permanent. But the first time I did that, I just couldn't believe,
Oh my God.
I couldn't believe it. And I had this rush of energy, like I had just, I don't know, touched something magical. I felt magical. And I was walking out of the building, and it was in a chiropractor's office. And, he had really seen me at such a low point, right? Because I was not doing well physically and stuff. And after the first treatment, he gave me a little smile, and he was like, oh yeah, I can see how you feel different already. I'm excited for you. This is going to be good. And that was something that really allowed things to change. But that was a couple years ago, but as I progressed forward, I realized that there's other tools that do the same thing, and that don't have to take the, what was it, 6 or 7 months to do that. And it's also pretty pricey, because it works so well, right? And it can help so many different things, from like depression and stuff like that. But then I started to realize that all of that is it's a way for you can take whatever symptoms you're having, of like, maybe you're stuck in certain patterns and stuff, and you can rewire your subconscious without having to use like modalities like that. There's things you can do every day that do that. And that's when I also discovered EFT a little bit later on too, through the program with Sam. She had these bonuses, these modules of this program from the year before that we were in, and I wasn't expecting anything. But I had some pretty cool stories that maybe we can share a little bit later on how well those worked. And it was like a sign of like, mic drop. Here you go, Kayla. Like, this is something we want you to add to what you're doing. And it's wild how we really don't need anything outside of ourselves. But if we rewire our subconscious, we can do anything, because that is the filing cabinet of all the information your brain thinks is only possible, when really you are unlimited. You are capable of anything. You can do anything. And your mind's job is to keep you safe by going off of the parameters and the frameworks that have worked before. But what's worked before isn't going to work continuously, because it's not going to get you where you want to go, because it's gotten you here so far.
Yes. And it's amazing what you're saying. We can do anything that we want. And our subconscious mind role is to protect us, give this frame, right? So the whole game that we need to play is, okay, how do I as I want to do new things and as I want to grow, how can I change this frame? How can I just move this frame 2 centimeters forward so that, things can start shifting and moving? So let's talk about a little bit about EFT tapping. EFT tapping is a modality that you use a lot in your work, but I think that out there's many people that are still not familiar with EFT tapping. To be honest, I didn't know it until the moment when we did the program together. So would you like to tell us a little bit more about EFT tapping, how it works, and some of the results that you've seen in yourself and in your clients?
Absolutely. So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. It was developed in the late 18 or 1900s, and this technique was actually created for phobias. It was created for helping people overcome phobias for airplanes, for spiders, for water, heights, whatever. And as they progressed through, the doctors realized that this was amazing for helping with depression, for helping with anxiety, for helping with anything of like the PTSD realm, anything that the subjects are a little bit touchier, right? And people really need help if they're struggling with these things, or if these group of symptoms is not allowing them to live the life they want to. And as they progressed further with it, they realized that not only is it proven by science that it works, but it gives an immediate shift in real time. So EFT works by regulating the nervous system it regulates the nervous system as well as reprogramming the subconscious mind and the frontal cortex, because it actually rewires the neural pathways. So I like to think about this when I explain this to my clients as, can you picture a road that has construction on it, right? It has little cones lined up and stuff, and you can't go down it. That is a neural pathway that has been closed off, right? Maybe you used it once ago. Maybe you thought that money was hard to make. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money is, you have to work really, really hard for it. But then you healed that belief and you've allowed yourself to receive more money, and you realize that actually making money is easy and you enjoy it and it's fun. And so that neural pathway has little cones lined up on it because you don't use it anymore. And so what happens is a new road opens up. And so that becomes your new belief. That becomes your immediate reflex, your default mode is what I also like to call it, of like, it's not what you do consciously, but it's the reflections of like your actual default mechanisms that's most important, because you can't go 25 hours a day being conscious of everything. That's not actually how your brain's made to work. We can only hold 7 pieces of information at a time. So you can't think about every little thing in the day, which is why people try to almost like take on too much when they want to change something. And so with EFT, with the immediate shift it gives you that boost. It helps make progress in real time, where a lot of other modalities, they take a very long time to work. It is like collapsing, if you want to say, 20 therapy sessions into one, because therapy is only going to be helpful to the degree that you're aware of something. But if you're not aware of something, you can't fix it, right? But with EFT, you don't actually have to be aware of it, because the way I have these sessions in my programs structured is it's all working using like almost hypnosis language, to where it actually bypasses your conscious mind to go into the subconscious. So when people answer things, they're always like, wait, I didn't actually know that's what was going on, because they're not aware of it, and they don't need to be, right? That's my job. I'm there to pull out that information and to give them what they want with the results. But it's so cool, because I spent like 21 or 22 years in therapy thinking that, well, this is going to make me feel better. But in reality, it doesn't always work, because it's just to your awareness. And there was so much below the surface of me I didn't know was there. And it's not fair for some people to try to want to do better, to heal things and to feel their best. And they put all this time or energy or money into something, and they don't get the results they want, you know?
So in your case, how do you do? Do you practice EFT whenever you feel like your nervous system is not regulated, or do you have like a daily routine where, I don't know, maybe you wake up, meditate, and do a bit of EFT? How did you incorporate EFT into your life?
So EFT is a technique that not only works for like mental health and physical symptoms, but it actually is amazing for manifesting and is amazing for attracting more money and really allowing yourself to dissolve any limiting beliefs, any blockages, anything slowing you down that you may not even realize. So I actually do it first thing in the morning. The first 15 minutes, your brain is in a theta state, which is allowing you to rewire the subconscious the most easiest. It's like the prime time. And so I tap every day. And the first time I did tapping was in that program with Sam. And it was for like success with like clients and stuff. And the minute after I finished that tapping, a notification came through on my computer. My first client had booked her call with me. And I was like, okay, that's a
Amazing.
coincidence. That doesn't happen. That's not possible, right? That's not possible. I mean, I'm positive, but that's not possible. And so I was like, okay, noted, cool, whatever. And I kept going along. And then the next one I tried, she had on there was for money. I was like, okay, cool, let's do money tapping. I'm ready. I'm ready for this. Keep in mind, I had never heard of tapping before. I trusted Sam. I was like, yeah, she's doing it. Okay, let's go. Kid you not. Then I get a notification comes through that I sell one of my designer bags off Poshmark that's been on there for like 6 months for like $3,000. I'm like, all right, okay, noted. So I hop on my computer again, open a new tab. I'm like, what schooling can I go to? Or how can I get certified? Like, how can I learn more? What is this? Why is this working? And where has this been all my life?
It's so nice. And I just love these signs, when the universe, your spirit guides, is just like, Kayla, it's that one. Come on.
Yeah. And then they're screaming. They're like, come on. With a megaphone? Yeah. Throw some glitter on it.
They're probably screaming, and we listen whispers,
Right? We're like, did you hear that? Nah, that was just the wind.
I imagine they're like, she just finished the EFT. She needs the notification now. Send it now.
Seriously. It has to be direct sometimes because we don't always notice, right? But
Yeah.
it's following the signs that has really allowed me to be like, I am a lot more supported than I ever realized.
Really nice. Really, really nice. And I know you talk a lot about energy. So you even called your podcast Energetically Her. So how do you manage your energy levels on a daily basis? Because sometimes I find like, okay, we wake up. In your case, you do EFT. In my case, I start the day with meditation. And then, so we start the day with the right energy, right? But then as the day goes, there's many things happening. Of course, we get influence from the outside world. We influence the outside world. So we need to manage our energy levels throughout the day. So how do you manage your energy levels during the day?
So something that is really prominent with tapping is I get an energy boost. So I always start every day with that, but there's also times where I will do a few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes in the afternoon, if I've hit a moment where I am changing something in my business, or it's something like with a client, or it's something with like family, or you have those moments where you just feel almost like you're out of alignment, and it's really quick for me to bounce back, which is nice because I used to, once I got into that state, it used to take me a while to get out of it. And it was almost like a few days or even sometimes a few weeks, depending on what was going on. And now, because I'm able to bounce back so quickly, I don't keep manifesting or I don't keep attracting anything on that lower vibration because I don't stay there for very long. It's like you know, you dip a straw into a thing of water and you pull it back out. Like it's just a quick, like, okay, we're back. And it's great because it allows me to process emotions and things without bottling them up, because you can bounce back quickly, but over time, if you're just like making yourself bounce back and you're not actually like handling whatever's going on, then it's just going to like come back and bite you in the butt. But if you're able to release that, like through meditation or through like moving your body, getting some exercise, it's amazing. I used to really love to go on like runs and stuff in the morning and walks. And now I've actually found that I love to do it in the afternoon because the sun's out, it's a little bit warmer. And I'll have to switch here in a couple weeks because it's about like 85 already. So we'll go back to the mornings once it gets like 120 here in Phoenix. But it's all about finding what works best for people. It's taken me quite a while to find a routine that I love, to really have the boundaries that I can set with other people, and to really honor how you work best, whether it's like you actually working a different job or like your career, your business. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. And something that I really learned recently with astrology actually is there's certain things you can look at that shows you maybe a routine that would be most supportive for you. And I didn't think that was possible looking at someone's chart, but I had an astrologist help me with this. And it's been really impactful, just kind of tuning into what feels good for you. It's really easy to look at people online, even people that you love, people that inspire you, and be like, oh, they're waking up at this time or they're doing this at this time. And you want to be like them, you want to be included. But everyone's so different. It's honestly way better for everyone to be like, well, what do I want to do? What makes me feel the best? How can I stop needing any validation or like anything outside of myself to look for like the best routine or like the best way of doing something, and just trust myself? And then if I find that I want to change something or make some refinements, I can still do that.
Exactly. I totally agree. And that's one of the things that I help my clients with when they don't have these habits in place yet, is to start building, okay, your ideal week. And this is tailor made and personalized for every person, because as you say, what might work for some people might not work for other people. So you need to develop your own routine. If you are an early bird, then great. Then you wake up early, maybe you meditate, maybe you do some sports, la la. Some people have no energy, they hate mornings, and they start waking up like their actual energy wakes up even later. So they need to plan something different, and that's perfectly fine. So I think every one of us needs to build this sort of these practices that work for us and only us, no one else. And I think
Mhm.
it's also a lot about like testing and learning and switching. And I really like, so I have one course, which is a meditation challenge, where I help people who have never meditated or who are just starting to meditate, and I help them introduce the habit of meditation into their lives. And basically, what we do is we try a bunch of different things. We try in the morning, we try during the day, we try in the evening, we try different formats of meditation. And one could even argue maybe for one person is meditation, for another person it might be EFT tapping, for another person it might be journaling. And there's so many, modalities and habits that we can put in place that support us best. And as you said, no one but us. We can get some inspiration from the outside world, but we need to test it in during the week and see how we feel, and then optimize to feel even better. And as you said, to be able to keep this high vibration. And then, yes, things happen, life happens. We might get frustrated. We might, I don't know, get pissed off because of something. So we go down, but up, we're back up very, very quickly. So, yes, this is
Exactly.
amazing. And
And
you're also a big fan of living intuitively. You talk a lot about intuition. So, one question that I'm always asking myself is, how do you know when your intuition speaking or when it's your ego that's speaking? And I know some of my clients have this question too. So how would you distinguish your ego versus your true intuition?
this is a good question. So, your ego is part of your mind. It's there to protect you. It's part of your instincts. And so it actually resides in the part of the brain that is one of the oldest parts. So part of they call it the reptile brain, right? Reptilian
Mhm.
brain. And so it's all about survival and making sure that you stay alive, but it doesn't realize that it's 2024. There probably is not any tigers chasing us, hopefully. But the tigers, so to speak, could be seeing a not so kind comment on one of your posts. It could be an email. It could be one of your loved ones having a really hard time and them taking it out on you. The tiger could be an experience that you've had 5 years ago that still comes up and you still feel triggered, or you still don't have that sense of freedom or safety around those things. And so what happens is with the ego, when it gets triggered or when something is threatening your well-being, whether it's real or not, when the body feels anxiety and stuff, it gets stronger. And so your ego is almost like, it sounds a lot louder than your intuition. And what we talked about earlier of like the screaming, the mega horn kind of a thing with your guides, sometimes the ego can feel like that too. And it's not always the nicest thing. And it can kind of replay things that someone has told you or said about you that's not in like the best light, been my experience. If you ever try something new out of your comfort zone and you have that thought of like, well, who am I to do this? Or how am I able to, why do I feel like I can do this? Or, I don't have what it takes. That's your ego, because it's not positive, right? It's almost like criticism and criticizing your capabilities and your way of doing something. When really all that's happening is just you stepping outside your comfort zone, you stepping into the unknown. And that's where creation happens, is being rooted in the present, but allowing yourself to step out of that. Your intuition is going to be that more encouraging, soft nature, that more like loving voice. It's going to be a lot more quiet though. And so it's almost a fine dance of you quieting the mind. And people can do this through meditation. Sometimes I also just take walks without any headphones in. I'm not listening to anything. I don't even bring my phone. And just to reconnect to nature and look up at the sun, stretch your shoulders out a little bit, get some walking in, some movements. And it's quieting the mind. We're really used to a world where we're always consuming stuff. We have so many people online that we love. We have so many things that we're doing. We're excited about stuff. But your intuition it can't be louder than what you're taking in. It's coming from inside. And you have to like carve room out in your schedule to strengthen that and connect with that even more. And a lot of the things too, I've noticed with intuition, it's not going to make sense always. And it actually can be really fun when you think about it this way. Like the best things that I've done, the best decisions I've made haven't made any logical sense. They just haven't. And you might get people thinking like, well, that's wild. Why would you want to do that? Or I don't see the logic in that. It's like, well, that's the point, babe. It's not your ego, it's your intuition. And things are not incremental. You can skip 10, 20, 30 steps by following your intuition. And that's what I've done in my life, from going at my lowest point to where I am now in a really short amount of time. It gets to be easier than you think by not having to find the evidence to prove something is like for you. You have to like trust that inner feeling. And the more you use it, the stronger it gets. So it's not like you're going to always have to, carve out so much time to quiet the mind. Once you tap into that even more, it almost becomes like an anchor, and you just are able to reach for that whenever you need and have it be there for you always.
And yeah, and as you say, I think the more we get used to following the intuition on the small things, like for example, okay, you go to a restaurant and you're like, what do I want to eat? Do I want to eat veggies? Do I want to eat like pasta? Do I want to eat whatever meat? And just choosing intuitively, like if your body is asking for veggies, something green, then go for that. And then maybe you're like, oh, shall I go for a walk this way or this way? And you go intuitively to a certain place, and whatever, you see something nice, blah, blah. And I think like the more you develop it on small things and you learn to trust it, because it's like a muscle that we need to develop, the more you develop it and the more you trust it on the small things, then you can trust it on the bigger things. Like my intuition told me, quit your 6-figure job and create your own business. And I was like, oh my God, I heard you. I got to do it, I guess. But it's not easy, because as you say, it doesn't make any sense, So it might not make logical sense, but it makes you feel it in your body. It makes total sense in your body. It's like a full body yes. So
Absolutely.
do you have any other advices for people who want to develop maybe their intuition and live more intuitively? What would you tell them?
Absolutely. Something that I've really found so helpful is learning more about my human design. Right in there for everyone's chart, it actually shows you how your intuition will show up. So for me personally, I'm a generator, which is my energy type. So I make a lot of energy. I'm like a light bulb, light up the sky. I get excited about stuff. And as I follow my joy even more, it shows. It is very contagious. If I'm not in the best mood, everyone can feel it. So that's why I stay in this happy state, and I'm able to use my EFT tapping and tools to feel good most of the time. But with your intuition, with using it with human design, mine specifically is a sacral generator. So I literally have that gut feeling, that full body yes. But there are many different types of different ways your intuition can show up. And some people may listen to that thinking like, I don't really have that gut feeling, or I don't know what a full body yes is. And that is a good indicator that your authority and your strategy in human design is different. So I highly recommend everyone to check what their design is. There is an app called My Human Design. It's by Jenna, and I love her. I haven't read her book yet, but she has really created the human design in a way more recently where it's more modern. There's an app that goes along with it. There is like, it's $6 a month, but there is a subscription that includes meditations. It includes your energy type, how you transmit and receive energy into the world, how you make your best decisions with your intuition, what your strengths and gifts are. It actually can conceptualize who you are and what you do and what you're best at into words, because we know who we are. We know how cool we are. We know how powerful we are, right? Everyone knows that, like, yeah, I have some things I'm super good at. Like, I have superpowers over here. But we don't always know, like, well, how do I put this into words? Or like, how would you explain this to someone else? Even if you're a business owner, how do I put this? How do I market this? Because this is me. This is like how I've been born. It puts words to it. And there's ways that like you can just play everything and listen to it. You don't actually have to just sit there and read it if you don't want to, because I get it, time freedom. But it's so neat. And there's other human design ones too, but I really love how Jenna has the app. It's so easy to use. You can also add friends too. You can see like, well, how does my best friend make her decisions? Or like, how can I maybe be a better friend to her or support her? Or maybe someone's not doing something for you that you need them to, so you add them to your human design thing and be like, okay, lovely, go look at my chart. We gotta make some corrections here. But it's so good. When my grandma was here visiting recently, I had her phone and my mom's phone. I had my phone. I'm like, okay, ladies, we are going to get you guys set up because they're new to all this stuff and they're just rolling their eyes. But that's cool. They've been slowly starting to open up and adapt, and it's really neat how there's so many tools out there you can use, and you don't really have to always have all the answers for yourself. There's things that you can use that just make it easier and more fun, which we love.
Yes, we love it. And speaking about your mom, I saw that recently, you spent some time with your mom, with your grandma on a trip that was super, super lovely. And it's also something that you said that was impossible a couple of years ago, given, your story and how things unfolded early in your life. So what are your thoughts on forgiveness? How have you been able to do the inner work on your side, to heal on your side, and to find peace in your relationship with your mom? Do you want to share a little bit more on that, the inner work and forgiveness?
Absolutely. So a little backstory on this question. So I moved from Idaho to Arizona by myself with my dogs. I gave everyone in Idaho, like my hometown, my friends and family, a couple weeks of notice, and that was it. It was really on my heart. My intuition was just leading me to move. And so I did. And about a year afterward, my mom moved here. And now it's been a few months after that. We're helping my grandma move here as well, which is cool because they never thought they would be moving either. And for a long time, they didn't speak at all, not on any speaking terms. Considering how I grew up, you can imagine their relationship dynamic of like not getting along, not always kind of putting me in the middle of stuff. And family can be really tough. Family can be your biggest supporters, or it can be the people that are closest to you that don't support you. And so for a lot of their life, you could say they hated each other, and they've said that many times. They've described each other in some of the worst ways you can think of, and it breaks my heart to think like people that feel like that about their family, right? Your own daughter, your own mom. But what happens when people feel like that is they're holding on to stuff from the past. It's like it's not serving them in the present moment. And when we don't forgive people, it doesn't really affect them, but it affects us. it affects us more than anyone because we're packing this around. We have our arms so full of all this heaviness, and we're not allowing ourselves to be free. And so I tried really hard when I was a little bit younger, like in my, 18, 19, 20, to get them to come around. And I'm a Sagittarius, so I'm a little feisty, a little fiery. And I noticed that you can't force people to change. Even though you love them, even though you want the best for them, you're just like, come on, you're making this so difficult. You can't make them do anything you don't want to do. And as I have shifted and evolved and transformed and changed so quickly, and I continue to do so, they have seen that. And they've actually taken my lead. They followed me, without me having to like push and shove and be like, come on, just like work with me here. Like, don't you want to be happier? I didn't need to do that. I never had to do that. You actually can make people change, or you can help them change into being happier and being healthier by you being happier and healthier first. And I realized that, when we come into this world, I really believe in soul contracts. And my work I do now with helping women reprogram their subconscious with their nervous system and really having the life they never thought was possible be a normal Tuesday for them, I had to go through things that aren't the greatest. But that's given me the wisdom and the experiences, and I feel so rooted in what I'm able to talk about and do because I've been there and I've lived it. And so I actually don't hold anything against anyone. I'm actually grateful for the worst things that have happened because it's almost like a golden key you've been given that unlocks this next door where you can help so many people. And I've forgiven everyone for anything, even myself. You hold a grudge against yourself of being like, why can't you just get over this? Or why are you being this way? But it's good to be kind to yourself. And it's taken me a long time to realize that compassion goes so far, and everyone is struggling with their own things too. Your loved ones, they may not even be sharing everything with you that they're struggling with, And so it's all about having compassion. And their relationship now, it's never been this good. It's almost like out of a storybook, Mercedes. When they were here, when we were all like in Sedona having fun, I just was sitting back thinking, I wish I could just I'm going to have this moment forever, but I wish I could just take a panoramic video and show them in 5 years of being like, remember when we first had our first family trip and you guys were laughing so hard? And it's a beautiful thing. And it's a good reminder that anything is possible for people. Your relationship with yourself, your family, your friends, anything is possible.
Yes, and I totally agree with what you said. Sometimes we need to go through hard things and then we realize that that was actually gold. And I actually like to say that sometimes your pain is your blessing. And sometimes, I think for you and for me, some of the biggest pains that we've lived in life, we've managed to alchemize that pain into wisdom and to be able to offer that wisdom to other women who might need it. So, having said that, I have another question for you. If you have a woman who's going through tough things right now, and she's in the midst of doing the inner work, but still there, still in a heavy place, so what would you say to her?
I would say that it gets to be easier than you think it is. When we expect things to take a long time, when we expect things to feel difficult, if we expect change to be hard, we're going to make it hard on ourselves without realizing it. It actually gets to be as easy as you want it to be. And when we realize that, think about, how can I make this more enjoyable? How can I make this more fun? I know I want to be doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm not there quite yet. What's one thing I could do today that would get me closer to that? Or is there anything currently that I'm still doing that I actually don't want to be doing? And can I make space for something else instead? It's all about the moments where you decide to be okay if maybe you're wrong about something. Maybe there's a better way, and that's cool. And you can try a million different ways to see what works best for you. It's opening yourselves up to having new possibilities. And the sooner I did that, the faster things changed for me. And the faster I realized I don't have to have all the answers. I just have to take the first step. Baby steps is the way to go a lot of times. You don't have to make these giant leaps. And the giant leaps will happen automatically by you putting your focus into one thing or feeling better or having your intentions set for something. It's all with the intentions. It's really, that's the energy behind something. And that's more important than a lot of times what you actually do. If you're doing all these things and you feel rushed, you feel behind, you're like, oh gosh, I don't want to do that. Don't you feel that? Like if someone sends you a message or they say something and it's not what they said, but it's the tone, and you look at them and you're like, yeah, I don't like that you said that. And they're like, what? I just said this. But you feel the energy. It's different. It's all about how you feel. And that's the most important thing. Like that is the golden compass that you can follow of getting what you want, of being happy, of having a life that you deserve and more.
Amazing. And I love how you phrase it. I could be wrong. Being open to, I could be wrong. And I could actually, maybe I've been reading situations in a way for all my life. And this is what I know up until now, but this could be wrong. This interpretation could be wrong. This could be a lie that I've been telling myself all my life. And maybe it's time to prove myself wrong and to learn a new way to interpret the situation or to create new situations. I really, really liked how you phrased that. Proving ourselves wrong. So where can listeners find you online? Where is the best place to hang out with you?
So I am on all social medias under Energetically Her. There is a podcast, there is a YouTube channel, Instagram is the main platform, and there's an email list. We have so many things going on, but everything is under Energetically Her.
Amazing. So my listeners will have everything in the show notes so they can easily find you, your podcast, your Instagram page. And I always like to finish my podcast with a rapid fire questions. So there's 3 questions. The first of them is, when was the last time you felt bliss?
Ooh, this morning.
Really?
I was out on the patio with the dogs, doing my tapping, and the sun was coming through, and I was excited to record this morning together. And I've actually been back into craving coffee, which is funny. So I had my coconut cream iced coffee, and it just feels so good to be alive,
Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing. Can you think of one idea that fundamentally changed your life?
Yes. You don't know, or you don't need to know the how, the when, or the where. You just need to know the what. Everything in the universe will conspire for you. You have your angels, you have your guides, you have your higher self, ancestors. You're always so supported. And even if you can't see it, even if you don't feel it all the time, the best thing we can do is ask for help, is to affirm what we're looking for and to be open to having things be easier than we think. And to know, well, maybe what you want to do. Maybe it's a business or a podcast or a project or just a fundamental of like, I want to be happier or I want to feel healthier. To have the what in place and to allow yourself to slowly fill in the pieces without having to have everything before you start.
That's amazing. That's amazing, because I think sometimes we wait too much, right? We wait until we have the whole thing figured out and then we eventually try to do it. And what you're saying, it's amazing. Let's just have the what and trust that we're guided and supported with the rest. Amazing. And if you could choose one rule that everybody in the world needs to obey, what would it be?
Ooh, one rule. This is a good question. I'm trying to think. One rule. I would say well, there's a couple that are coming through, but I would say one rule, everyone needs to love themselves. Because in a world where you love yourself, you're confident, you put yourself first, you're kind to other people, you make your dreams happen, you stay connected to your vision, and that's everything else falls into place. When you feel good, that's the most important thing.
I love it. Such a beautiful rule. It would be such a nice world, indeed.
The second one I thought
it
was heal your inner child, and I'm like, well, we could rephrase that.
Yes. Well, it would be intertwined, right? If we have self-love, maybe we get to heal also the inner child. So that's
Absolutely.
very good question. I know these are very deep questions and very quick. So yeah. Thank you so much for all of your wisdom. Thank you so much for your time today. We've really, really enjoyed this conversation. I know my listeners will absolutely love learning all of this from you. They will have all the links in the show notes to connect with you as well. And thank you so much, Kayla, for today. It was really, really special. Thanks.
Thank you, Mercedes. This was so much fun. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I will see all my listeners on the episode next week. And in the meantime, in Blisstopia we trust.